webinar on using the ISB Interactive Schedule Builder to create your student master schedules. Today we will be going over how to use the ISB to build your master schedule and schedule students. The ISB is found under Scheduling, Operations, Interactive Schedule Builder. The ISB is also found in MMS Generations, but we'll be showcasing the staff portal version today. First, it's important to understand how the ISB is different from, say, the Automated Schedule Builder or the Student Scheduler. The Interactive Schedule Builder is a scheduling tool that provides you with the maximum amount of control in the creation of your master schedule. It gives you information about student requests, free time for the course you select. The information helps you to decide the best slot in your master schedule to place each section. You create sections while working with the scheduler. You choose the order in which to build each course. Typically, courses should be placed into your master schedule in the following order. Courses that have to meet during a certain period, for example, band or chorus, or any of your tech classes. Singleton courses, courses with only one section, starting with the senior level courses and working towards the freshman level courses. Doubleton courses, courses with two sections meeting during different periods, or they could be the same period, but you have two sections that you need. And then courses with 3 or more sections and so forth. You also want to take into account your AP classes, honor classes, and so forth. The scheduler changes student section assignments in order to improve enrollments. Students are scheduled in filter order. You can see here that my filter is set to all active students sorted by student name. I could change that to year of graduation so that my seniors would be scheduled first prior to freshmen. The process is that, and I'll just talk through it and then we will put it into action. You're going to select the course to work with. The ISB works with, generally you work with one course at a time. It will display the number of students requesting the course. You will use the free time tally to decide where best to place the course. Student record listings will show each student all of the courses they have requested and any sections they are assigned to. The Edit Section button allows you to create or modify sections. It will bring you right to the section editor. Set the scheduler options and schedule the students requesting the selected course. The scheduler results will show immediately after you have scheduled a course. Section enrollment lists just the one course with the meeting information, kind of a mini view of the section table editor. The student sections show what section, if any, the student was assigned to, and then you would repeat that process for all of your other courses. It is important to note that the ISB can also be used in conjunction with the Automated Schedule Builder, also known as the ASB. Very rarely will the ASB be able to create the final master schedule and schedule your students 100%. There's always that few course sections that the ASB is not able to place, but with a little bit of human interaction and using the Interactive Schedule Builder, you can modify your master schedule to finalize those last few students and courses. So the first thing you need to do is select the course that you want to work with. Also, make sure that you are in the correct school year. I am in my new school year. So we are going to go down to my Algebra 1 class. That is the course that I want to work with. So as soon as I click on select, I can see here that I have 90 students that have requested this course. If I run the free time tally, it's going to show me for the terms that I have selected which periods the number of students that can meet. So I have 90 students that I'm working with here. I can see that I have 66 that are available for period one, and this is for the full year. So 66 are available period one for the full year. Periods 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7 and 9, all 90 students are available during those periods. And then for periods 4 and 8, I can see that 74 students would be available during those periods. And then if I scroll down, I can see semester 1 and semester 2. Algebra 1 is a year-long class for me, so I'm not interested in the free time for semester 1 and semester 2, although they are identical. I am in the very early stages of scheduling, and I only have one other course scheduled right now. So my availability is not 100%, but it is pretty easy to select where I want to have this course scheduled. Now, I am only seeing those three terms. That is set. Which terms you see here is set in MMS Generations. So let me pull that up. And you want to make sure that you are in your same school year. And if you go to School Management Jobs, the little schoolhouse button at the bottom, and click on my Edit Scheduling Term Definitions, if I scroll all the way over to the right, you can see Use to Track Free Time. Now, the first time you run this in your new school year, you are probably going to have all of your terms selected. Now, this is my high school database. I do use all of these terms, but right now I am just focusing on my year-long classes. I haven't got into my semester or my quarter-based classes. So I could select just my year-long classes, save and exit. I am going to get this warning message until I put in my starting and stopping dates for at least one term. Where I am only scheduling right now, I'm not concerned that I'm going to keep getting this message, and that's fine. If it really bothers you, you can put in the dates for at least the year-long classes, and that will eliminate most of those messages that you'll get. Now, if I refresh my screen, reselect my algebra class, and run my free time tally, now it is only going to show the student's free time for that year term. I like to keep my views simple, so we're going to go back to our course selection, and we are going to look at the student record listing. So this lets you see all of the students, the 90 students that have requested Algebra 1, and any courses they are currently scheduled into. And you can see here that none of the students that we're seeing right now have anything scheduled. You can see it's a 2-column listing for each student, and you can see the course code. If they were scheduled into a specific section, you would see the section number there, and here is the second column, and then you see the course name. And I do have some students here who are scheduled into English 9. Okay, so here's my first student with English 9. I forgot that I had changed my student filter order because Charles had shown up before. So I can see here that Charles is already scheduled into his freshman English. All right. And if we click on section enrollments, we're not going to see anything because we don't have any sections built yet. So let's build some sections for my algebra class. We're going to go back to course section, and we're going to click on edit sections. Now I could leave this editor, this operation, and go to my course section editor, but this brings me right to it. And here are my English 9 classes that I've already added. So I am going to add a new section, and we're going to select the section we want to work with. And that was 223 Algebra 1. It's going to default to the section code of 01 because there are no sections currently. It's going to pull the section name from the course catalog, and it is going to default to beginning period 1. And looking at my 90 students, probably going to have 4 sections of this course built, and I can use some of the periods that there were conflict. I don't need to avoid all of the periods where English 9 is already selected. All right, so I am going to create my 4 sections, and let's walk through the process for section 1. So I am going to select period 3. It is a 5-day schedule, and it meets for the full year, so I want to change my semester to year. No one is currently enrolled, but I want to have my maximum of 25. So if I build 4 sections, 25 students per section, that will allow me to place 100 students. And so if I have any other students coming in, I should be able to accommodate. If you know that the walk-in amount or the shuffling is going to be greater than that, then you can increase either the maximum allowed, or you can increase the number of sections that you create. Now, scheduling priority, it does default to a priority of N, which is normal. For Algebra 1, I would want to keep that as a normal priority. If I was scheduling a course that was, for example, art or music appreciation or robotics, those are all elective classes. They're not a core class required for graduation. Those I would put the scheduling priority as L for low. Right now we only have 2 levels of scheduling priority, and we'll talk about how that priority will come into play in just a few minutes. Grade plan will default to a year plan. If this was a semester class, I would select either, a semester 1 or semester 2, depending on what I selected here for the semester. But it is a year-long class, so I am going to select that grade plan, and that will save me a few headaches later on. And save. And there is my algebra, my first section. So I'm going to skip ahead and create the other 3 sections that are needed. So as you can see, I have my 4 sections created for my Algebra 1 class. I have 2 separate teachers and 2 separate rooms. Now, if you are creating these sections and you select a teacher that has a conflict, it's going to give you a warning message. And let me show you an example of that. So from this section editor, I can add a new section, edit a selected section, so the section that you have highlighted. You can delete a section, and you can also print the section listing report. So let's modify this one so that it will be in conflict. So I'm going to edit my selected section. That's not the section I wanted. So let's edit this section and put it into conflict and show how the editor is going to behave. So I happen to know that my English teacher also has a course for the full year for period 1. So this is going to put this teacher into conflict. Now, the schedulers will not create a section through the ISB that will put a room, a teacher, or a student into conflict. But when you come in here and you you manually edit or create a section, it will allow you to put something into conflict. So if I click on save, it says right here that the section has a teacher conflict for teacher ARJ, which is the code. Do you wish to save? And you will want to say no, and so it didn't change that section. So MMS does let you know if you're putting a room or a teacher into conflict. Now there are times when you do want a conflict. For example, if you have a good example is your upper level French classes. So say you have a French 4 and a French 5 class, and those classes are very limited in the number of students that select them. A lot of schools will have one teacher responsible for the French 4 and French 5 classes, and it actually works that they can have both of those classes meeting at the same time, same room, same teacher. You'll create that conflict once you are done scheduling all of the students into their classes. So we do have a knowledge base article on how to create a schedule like that because, as I said before, once a student is in conflict, MMS won't touch that student. So that has to be the last thing that you do in creating student schedules. So I have my 4 sections of algebra. So we're going to close this view and we're ready to schedule. Now, before we click on schedule, we want to take a look at our scheduling options. And we have 4 of them here. The first one is semester balance. Semester balance will try to maintain a departmental balance for each student across semesters. In order for that to work, you do need to have a department associated in the course catalog. Course sequencing will attempt to assign students into courses in the preferred order. Now you can see the course sequencing isn't available here for me. And then allowing overloads will allow you to put more students into a section than the maximum specified. There are times, especially when you are first trying to schedule a class, that allowing overloads is the preferred method. MMS would prefer not to overload a class, so if they can place a student in a different section that will not overload a particular section, it will do that. But by allowing overloads, you will be able to see that maybe you need to have 2 sections concurrently during the same period so that you can accommodate those overflow of students from that one section that was overloaded. And then you have the minimum number of scheduling attempts per student of the different section combinations before indicating that no schedule could be found. And another thing to make note of before we hit schedule, what will happen is that all of the students, if they have been previously assigned to a section of any of their classes, will be pulled from all of their specific sections, and then MMS begins looking at the courses that the students has requested. And then possibly while you are in the scheduling process, the sections that students were previously assigned to may change. When we do hit the schedule button, and this applies to whether you are using the ISB, the automated schedule builder, or the student scheduler. Again, it will remove all students from the sections that they are currently assigned to. It will schedule the students in order of the student filter, and then it starts with in the following order. It will look at your normal priority sections. It will start with the singleton courses, so those courses that there are only one section of, and then go by course order. So it'll take all of your singletons and it'll start with the lower course order and then schedule the students. Then it will look at your doubletons, those courses that have 2 sections built, and then go by course order within there. And then your tripletons, those courses that have 3 sections assigned, and so forth by course order. Once it has exhausted all of the normal priority sections, it will address the low priority sections and then start with the singletons in course order, doubletons in course order, tripletons in course order, and so forth. So with my example that I have here so far going, that I have English 9, which has only 3 sections, and then my algebra that has 4 sections, it's going to reschedule the students into their English class first and then schedule them into the algebra. Now, if the English and algebra both had 3 sections, it would still do English first because English is course 102 and algebra is course 223. So numerically, English would get scheduled first. They're both normal priorities, so that is the same. So we are going to click on schedule and we get this alert message saying that you are going to execute this operation for school year 2017-18. Are you sure that you want to execute this operation? And you do. This will indicate the school year that you're working in, and that is a good check. Make sure that you are in the right school year before you click OK. And here is our scheduler results. And they are automatically shown. And these are pretty boring looking here. We can see that the number of students processed is 90. If you are in the new school year, all of your students are going to be active students, and you're probably not going to have any inactive students with course requests. You may. So that may cause this number to be different. But given the state that we're in, with our new school year, I would expect that number processed to be equal to the number of student requests for that course that we're working on. Students with no courses, that is 0 and is usually always will be 0. The next 4 lines are the different combinations of overloads and semester balance. So we have no overloads with a semester balance, no overloads with no semester balance, overloads with semester balance, and overloads with no semester balance. And you can see here that all 90 students were placed with no overloads needed and no semester balancing needed. And where this is a full year course, I would be surprised if something showed up here in semester balance. Now, you have to realize that this is for all of the students' courses. So once you start having more and more sections, the overloads, if there's an overload with a semester balance that was, that has something more than 0, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is for the course that you're working with. It could be for another course that the student, that sections were already built for. And then the no schedule possible indicates 1 or more courses that cannot fit into a student's schedule. This can be because a course request has a conflicting meeting time with another course request. And then no schedule found is the number of students with no schedule and the number of attempts made. The default, as I said before, is 100,000 scheduling attempts per student from the course section tab. So let's take a look at our section enrollments. And this is only going to show the enrollment numbers for the course that we're working with. So we're working with our algebra, very nicely displayed right up there. And we can see here that we have 23 and 22 students in each of our sections. So the first 2 sections have 23 students. The second sections have 22. If we go to and take a look at our student sections, these are the 4 different sections It will show which students, not by section order, but by our filter order that we have up here. And we can see that Cassandra Beck was put into section 2 of Algebra 1, Joshua is in section 1, and so forth. So it is not sorted by the different sections. This was an example of using the ISB to create a student master schedule from scratch. As stated earlier, that this operation pairs very well with our automated schedule builder. So in order to show that process, I am going to switch to my current school year, and we are going to pretend that we are still in the scheduling time frame. So most of my students are just about all scheduled for their classes. All right, so we're going to work with my English 9 Plus. So I can see here that I have 23 students that have requested English 9 Plus, but they're not all scheduled in. If I click on the section enrollments, I can see I have one section of English 9 Plus with only 12 students scheduled into it. So I am going to do some clicking around here. So first I'm going to start with my free time tally. And this will show me the free time available for all 23 students that have requested my course code of 101. And I can see here that I have only 5 people for period 1 just on Monday. The rest of the week they're not available. Period 3, only 2 of these 23 students are available. Period 4, I have 10. Period 5, I have 8, and so forth. Now I have changed my school years, and my free time tally is showing my year, my semesters, and my quarters. So the view is a little bit different. I do have to realize that the students are currently scheduled into that first section. It's still showing all of my students, but just looking at this, I can see that I can get 10 students in my period 4. So that'll be 10 additional students that I can get scheduled. My period 0 is something that I am not using for regular classes. It's more of an after school thing, but I can see here that if period 0 was available for me, I would be able to fit all 22 students in there. I do have an inactive student that has the course request, which is why it's showing 23 students have requested that course, but showing availability for only 22 students. If I wanted to, I could unschedule all of my students from this particular course. And if I run the free time tally again, so my period 1 numbers are different. So if I look at the section enrollments, period 1 was where I had that other course. So period 1 is definitely where I want to keep one of those sections, and period 4 is also where I'd want to create that new section. So we're going to go back to our course sections. We're going to click on Edit Sections, and we're going to add a new section. We're going to make this period 4. It is a full year class. Now if I do select a room or a teacher that has already have something scheduled for period 4, I am going to know right away. All right, and I can see that there is a room conflict and a teacher conflict. No, I don't want to save. And we'll try one more time. All right, I did allow a conflict just to move things along here. No, that's not going to. Now, this section has a teacher conflict, so stage is actually scheduled for another course during period 4. All right, so we have 22 active students processed, no students with no course. We have no overloads, no semester balance. We have 17 students that were scheduled with no overloads and no semester balance options given. And then we have 5 students that were placed either with an overload or semester balance was taken into account. Now, if I take a look at my section enrollments, and I can flip between the two tabs, I can see that I have all 22 students enrolled, which is nice, and they weren't overloaded. If I go back to the scheduler results, semester balance was not a factor with this course because it's a full year class, and neither of them were overloaded. So it was one of those 23 students in one of their other classes that an overload or a semester balance was taken into account. And all my other numbers are 0. So that is an example of using the ISB to finesse those last few courses or students finishing up from the automated schedule builder. I hope you found this information useful, and I hope to see you at another webinar. Thank you.